it's that time again. Hello and welcome to another short documentary. I'll use this vehicle as an opportunity for me to show the vehicle to a prospect buyer and also review my opinion of these buses. So these buses are built by Euromotive somewhere in Kent, I don't know. But anyway, the short of it is, the Variety Club, which is a massive charity, has had hundreds and hundreds of these, and I've had probably 100 of these buses during my time of dealing in buses and ideal base vehicles, and a lot of schools and other places have had them as well. So I thought, you know, great opportunity now for me to talk about what I know about them, what I think is good and what I think is bad. This one here is actually on an Iveco 2.3. It's plated to 4.2 tons, but of course it could be down rated, because it's not a particularly big vehicle, and I can't imagine it weighs over 3 tons as it is anyway. This one is running the 2.3 engine, which isn't the best of the Iveco range. I think the 2.8 is the best, but the 2.3 and the 2.8 are both belt driven, whereas the 3 litre option is chain driven, so that is superior in some cases. But the 2.8, in my opinion, for some reason or another, I just think it's the best. Arguably though, Iveco do make all the best engines, so the 2.3 is a lot better than any other vehicles on the market as well. This one's in reasonable condition. As always with these Ivecos, you're going to get the paint flaking. Still haven't pinned down why that happens, but you got it a bit up there, a bit up here, a bit everywhere, I suppose. So right, where should I go with this one then? So here's my little sheet, so I go through them and appraise them. There's no diesel heater in these. There's no skylight in them. So just a quick gander in the back. They do usually come with a disability lift, but this one has been removed, but the wiring's still there. See here, that's your power to the disability lift. That's where it shows it's been Lola tested and inspected, but it has been moved. So aesthetically it's a bit nicer for the campervan folk. Obviously it rules out people that are actually disabled to buy it, but for many it might be a bit of a benefit. So you get a nice clean white clean finish on these. Of course, I imagine, I've never taken one of these to pieces, but I imagine it's not very well insulated underneath, so you probably would want to take these out, put some insulation behind it, and go ahead. Right, I'm going to have to pause the video here actually, because I'm just getting a phone call in 1 second. Okay, phone call over. Back in business. Right, so I don't know where I was, but I was probably saying the insulation, it probably doesn't exist, and even if it did exist, you'd probably want to put some more in anyway. But it is quite a nice finish. You could carpet over the top, or you could do whatever you want with it. Nice windows that open. I think that's on both sides, and then it's quite a nice large window there. But in my opinion, for camper vans, a bit of privacy. You know, it's letting a bit of heat out, but it is what it is. You could board over it, put a bit of privacy film over there, and then board over it. No one would know any different. Usually buses obviously have a overhead storage the whole way across, and this is, in my opinion, the biggest drawback to these things, and that is, wait for it, there's no side loading door. So for me, that kind of ruins these buses for me for a camper van. But you know, the trade-off is these buses tend to have incredibly low mileage and tend to have been well maintained. And second interruption of the day, I'll have to come back in a second. Right, at some point today I will get to finish this video. Right, take 5. So yeah, you come in here, obviously because it has no side loading door, you're limiting yourself even more, because you can't put a passenger seat in the front unless of course you're going to access things through the back. You'd be very creative if you make it that way, so that is a very limiting factor. That's worth noting, because some people have bought them off me in the past and then been like, Christ, I've bought it, 3 weeks later we're trying to design the back and it's not working where I opened it. So that is definitely worth noting before you buy one of these vans. Overhead storage, there you go there. What can you put in there? A microwave, I don't know. Down here it sits on unwind tracking, so you can use that you could use it for a rock and roll bed, or you could use it for taking the seats in and out, things like that. Right, what have I got on this old notepad? So there's no diesel heater. There is 12 volt lights. There, the whole way across. I think I've pretty much reviewed it for anyone that'd be interested in one of these buses. other than this one. Now I'm going to go into someone that's probably thinking of buying this one. This one has done 73,833 kilometers, which works out at 45,000 miles. I've gone around the tyres throughout. They're all sitting on Michelin's, so you've got the premium quality, non-budget tyres. Condition wise though, they're not as good as I'd hoped. The front one, you're talking 25% left of its life. The offside front, you're talking 40% left of its life. And the rears, obviously because it's twin wheel, I've got two. This side here, I've called that 50% left, and the other side I've got 60 and 50. So the inside wheel's 60% and the other wheel's 50%. One thing that is uniform with all these buses, well, it tends to be, there does tend to always be a brand new spare wheel, so that's a bit of a bonus. That's quite nice. Ivecos, right? Ivecos themselves, the most reliable engines you'll get, but what lets them down tends to be the corrosion. You see a little bit bubbling up here. You might get away with painting that, but it probably wants sanding down a bit and doing properly. Any lights here or anything to note? The chassis, I've already been underneath it. The chassis is pretty good. There's your exhaust. But yeah, the chassis is solid. Doesn't need any welding. The inside of the sill, it's pretty good the whole way down. It doesn't need any welding underneath, but for a 14-year-old vehicle, it's pretty impressive. But then again, it hasn't done a lot of work. Hopefully you can see this here. Down the line though, it probably will want some work. That's why I'd recommend wax oiling the chassis. So quick look underneath here. Nice and solid. Good thing about the twin wheels, if you didn't already know, they are a bit more stable to drive in my opinion, and if you do have a blowout, even though it's not a great idea, you could carry on driving if it was on the rear. Right, let's start her up. Now, if you want to know how a 2.3 should start, you should listen to this. And put the key in the right way around. Yeah, there we go. Right, sip my coffee before I go any further. Brilliant. Right, make sure it's out of gear. Turn the key, let all the lights go out before you start trying to start her up. And then, give her a whirl, she's straight in. Sounds sweet as a nut. Give her a quick rev, don't worry. I have pulled it down here so it's already warm. Let's pop the bonnet and have a gander underneath. There's your weight plate. You can see it's 4.2 tons. It could be down rated. 3300 wheelbase. Looks to me like it's a budget battery on board as well. Not really much else to show. And when you close the bonnet on Ivecos, I'm going to turn it off now. You can hear me. And put the bonnet off, make sure you put that down, otherwise it won't close. Come around, give her a quick arm, she's done. Right, anything missed on this bus? Wants nice, wants a bit of a clean. Just want a bit of a clean. Haven't got around to doing that yet, and hopefully going to try and sell it as it is. Fire extinguisher, there's actually a fire extinguisher on the back. Seats in reasonable condition. One thing to note, if someone's trying to sell you a low mileage vehicle, what is the steering wheel like? And this one's looks like it's done the genuine mileage. Right, I've got another phone call coming in. I will pause the video and be back in just a moment. Right, now that we're back in business for the 42nd time during this video. Shit, I haven't done that properly. Right, I think that handle needs to be more that way. There we are. I will discuss the final and probably the most important thing about buying a second-hand bus, van, or I suppose anything really. This is particularly true when you're buying something off the ambulance service. So, shut that up. Does the central locking work? So it seems to be communicating. Is it doing its job? Is there? It is there. And it isn't there. Right. So how does that not work? Let's try that. So it's locked now because I did it manually. I've unlocked it. It's still like that. So looks to me like we've got to do some work there. So yeah, probably a good point I went over that. Right, I think it'd only be right if I go for a quick test drive. So let's see if I can balance my coffee there and pull it off. And it might be quite entertaining when I run out of diesel as well. Right, handbrake off, in first gear. Thing with the Ivecos are the gearboxes with the first 5 minutes of driving, they're not particularly nice to drive in my opinion. It's because they depend on the oil to warm up and really silk them up, if that's the right terminology. So, are we clear? We're clear. Coffee's doing alright on the ground. Goes bloody well. Lots of banging and stuff in the back. That's seat belts and other things like that clinking about. Top gear. There we go. Got no smoke coming. Smoke out the exhaust. Alright, country lane limit is 60 miles per hour, so I'll steady up. No noise from the diff, no noise from the prop, nice smooth gearbox, pulling very well. Right, I'm going to be turning around this gateway, so I think I'll begin the braking process right about now. Just damp it down slowly. Very responsive brakes, I have to say. Nice even braking as well, worth note. Right, nothing behind me. I believe there is. Into reverse. And to all those looking at buying an ex school bus made from this company in Kent or off the Variety Club or something like that, you know, I'm going to estimate about 100 that I've probably had. I've never had any issues with them, and the people that I've sold them to, I believe they're still going strong. I suppose because I haven't heard from them, so they must be. So they are a nice, reliable place to get them from. You know, when I discuss what makes a good vehicle to buy, the previous owner, not necessarily how well they've maintained it, but how they've been driving it. And this has been carrying around disabled passengers and young folks to you know, various places in the UK, and they don't tend to get a hard life. So whereas something like a first response ambulance, you know, they're going from A to B and saving lives as fast as possible. So the gearbox are getting yanked into gear to get it down, get the speed up, and that wasn't a very good gear change by me. So, you know, they are a good bus. They are a good base vehicle. You know, yes, the side door's a bit annoying and you can't put a seat in there. Maybe there is a way around it. Maybe you could put something that goes in there temporarily and then pulls out on the inwind tracking. Who knows? But yeah, they are a good base vehicle. If you're looking for a nice, reliable base vehicle, it could be a good option. But bear in mind the limitations that are involved with them. It's driving very well. And we're almost back at base, and the coffee is still there, so mission complete. Sorry, I didn't change gear quite quick enough then. Right, last test. There we go, that was worth testing out. No, the heaters are working, so 1, 2, and just slowly working on 2, 3, 4. Well, that's good. And it's warm as well, fantastic. Right, I think I've done this comprehensively enough. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, drop me a message on the Facebook site, email me rupert@carriagecampus.com, or drop me a call. I'll be happy to answer any of your questions. Thank you, bye bye. Before I sign off, we've got 1, 2, 3 keys with the van as well.